Hello, my friend. My name is Mike Robertson. Thank you so much for signing up for my newsletter. I am so excited to have you here. My goal is to help you become the best trainer or coach possible. And today we're going to talk about program design. So in this video, I'm going to cover the R7 system for program design, how to write better workouts in less time. So appreciate you being here. Let's dive in. Now, I'm going to tell you this up front. I like to tell stories. I like to give you a little bit of background on who I am and why I program the way that I do. So if you're interested in that and you're here for that, great. If not, if you want to get straight to the chase and you want to get to the real meat and potatoes of this, go ahead, slide the video forward. You're not going to hurt my feelings, I promise. But again, I think sometimes it's helpful to hear why somebody thinks the way they do. Why do they coach the way that they do? And for me, I grew up in the mid 1990s, before weight rooms in middle schools and high schools were a big thing. But man, I loved sports. For me, I always joke around with my wife. My first love was basketball because I grew up in the country. I didn't have, internet. I didn't have video games. I didn't have direct access to social media 24/7. So I had to find ways to entertain myself. And so for me, that involved, hitting baseballs off a tee, hitting tennis balls against my garage door. But probably my favorite pastime was just going out and getting buckets because I didn't need a lot of equipment. I could do it almost any day of the week, rain or shine. And man, I just love basketball. And so for me, I wanted to become the best basketball player possible, but I was small. I was undersized. I was very young for my age. So when I'm going out for like the high school basketball team, I'm easily the smallest, shrimpiest kid out there. And, this kind of continues. My freshman year, I get a little bit bigger my sophomore year, but it wasn't really until in between my sophomore and junior years. We get our first weight room at my high school, and all of a sudden, everything changes. Now, keep in mind, I'm doing the dumbest stuff on the planet, right? We have like a little machine circuit. I'm doing like machine circuits, sets of 100. I'm literally bench pressing 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'm maxing out every Friday because in my little teenage brain, I assume that maybe I've gotten stronger that week. So I'm doing all this really ridiculous stuff, but we all know newbie gains are a real thing. So what happens? Hey, lo and behold, I'm doing dumb stuff, but I'm still getting stronger. And so over the course of this summer, aesthetically, I start to notice, oh man, I got a little bit more muscle. There's maybe a little bit of definition here. But it really translated into my basketball game because now all of a sudden there's more range on my jump shot. I'm a couple feet back, able to hit threes. There's more zip on my passes. But the coolest thing for me was over the summer, all of the upperclassmen, the guys that used to just pummel me as a freshman, those guys are coming back and we're doing open gym. And as the summer goes on, like they're not pushing me around anymore. I can kind of like stand these guys up and I can bang and be more physical. But probably the even cooler thing was over the course of the next year, as I get more serious and I really start to, understand some things about progressive overload and being smarter in the gym, now all of a sudden the tables are turned and now I'm pushing these guys around. So I was always looking for a way all throughout college, how do I merge this love of athletics and fitness? And so I did a 4-year undergraduate, trained exactly 0 people because the school system was different, right? There wasn't this emphasis on really applied knowledge and getting in the gym and training and coaching people. But in between the end of my graduate study, or excuse me, the end of my undergraduate studies and my graduate school starting, I got an athletic, not scholarship, I got to work in the athletic weight room at Ball State University. And needless to say, my friend, that changed the game because I realized, man, I really can. I can merge these two worlds that I'm so passionate about, being athletics and fitness. And so if you would have told me in 2000 or in between 2000 and 2002, and you would have asked me, what are you going to do, Mike? I would have said, well, I'm going to be a Division I strength coach. And things just never work out quite like we'd like for them to. I took a really indirect path to get to where I'm at today. And I always joke around, but I feel like I live something of a double life, and I have basically my entire professional career. So for 24 years now, I've been a coach. Like I'm in the gym, I'm working with clients, I'm working with athletes. I'm constantly tweaking with things. What exercise is best? What set rep scheme is going to work for this client? So I've done 24 years of that. But what's crazy is even before it was cool to be a content creator, I was creating content. And so for 23 years, I have been writing articles, creating podcasts, shooting videos, finding ways to help educate other trainers and coaches. So, I've done a lot. right? As far as coaching goes, I've been in one-on-one, I've been in small group, I've been in large group settings, I've done rehab, I've done your general like personal training with your Gen Pop clients. I've worked in, Division 1 sports, professional sports. And on the content side, I've done all kinds of different things as well. I've just kind of evolved as the different mediums have evolved. When writing articles was the thing, I wrote articles. Now that podcasts and videos are more of a thing, I lean a little bit more onto that side of the spectrum. But I think for me, I really feel like I've been blessed in this industry because I've got the basketball shirt on. I told you my love of basketball at the start. Man, I've gotten to work with some of the best basketball players on the planet, right? We're talking overseas players, EuroLeague, NBA. My guy Glenn here was the dunk contest champion. Keyshawn, first round draft pick. Tyrell, second round draft pick. Big Roy here was a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. He was an all-star the year that we worked together. Man, I've had so much success and I've been blessed to work with just so many amazing people. And that's in basketball. I was the Indy 11 strength coach for 5 years when we started our club here in Indianapolis. Those first 5 years, I was our strength coach. I got to be on the field working with these guys. It was an amazing experience. And then our gym iFast, which I've run for 16 years now with my guy Bill Hartman. We've been named numerous times by Men's Health magazine as one of the top 10 gyms in America. So, it's been an amazing run. I love what I do. But I know a lot of times, maybe you don't work in basketball. If you do, great, then we're really going to jive. But if you don't work in basketball, you're probably thinking, well, this is great. Does this system only work with athletes? And I can tell you unequivocally, absolutely not. Yeah, man, we've got, your middle and high school age athletes that come into our gym. But Brian here is a doctor that likes to do mixed martial arts and stay in shape. Kelly likes to play recreational tennis. Rick goes on these crazy long, like month-long hikes. Shelby is my wife's best friend and, a hairdresser. I think my guy Ben down here, he plays rugby. Monica was in finance forever in her professional life and then realized she loved fitness, so now she's a trainer. Monica is a social media creator. My gosh, why can't I? Kathleen, was a lawyer for a good portion of her life. Now she runs a hyperbaric oxygen clinic. So I show you this to just give you an idea, like this system, yes, it works with athletes, but this will work with athletes, Gen Pop clients, whoever you train and coach, you can use this system to write more effective workouts. As far as the content creation side goes, because a lot of times people say, well, Mike, you're busy, you run a gym and you still coach clients. Why do you do this? I think early on, I realized that when I work with somebody, when I'm working with an athlete, kind of my knowledge and my experience stops at that point in time. And so I wanted to find a way to leverage that because I realized, again, pretty early on in my career that if I work with an athlete, okay, I impact one person. If I impact a coach, now I'm impacting, I don't know, how many clients do they have? 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And now if I'm impacting not one coach, but hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands, that's a massive leverage. And that allows me to make this massive positive impact in our industry because I ultimately want trainers and coaches to be more successful. I'm so passionate about this industry. I want people like you to have more success and to stay in this industry and make it a real career. But to do that, I need to educate people and I need to show you how to have more success. So enough about me. Let's talk about R7 and let's talk about programming. And just a cornerstone of my philosophy as a whole in life, in programming, is it's all about efficiency. And I can tell you about when we opened the gym. And from 2008 to 2011, we're in we call our 1.0 space. And we have a couple coaches. And I can't express how great it felt. Once we get going, we're getting more clients. I can take myself off the floor. So now instead of being there 5:45 a.m. to like 7:15 p.m., 5 or 6 days a week, now I can condense myself. And now I can do some of the ops and administrative stuff during the morning. And then in the afternoon, I can come in and coach. But I realized, okay, that's great. But the guy that we hired, who was an amazing coach, he wasn't ready to write programs yet. And so I clearly remember on Friday morning, I take myself out to one of my favorite breakfast spots, Cafe Patachu, have a nice little breakfast, go to the coffee shop right next door, Little Borders, get a coffee. I'm like, all right, write these programs, head into work. And I realize, oh crap, like I don't just have my programs to write anymore. I have like 20 programs to write. And this was at a point in time where it could take me 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour to write one program. So just imagine if you have to write 20 programs and every one takes you on average 30 to 45 minutes to write. It's a miserable experience. It just takes way too long. So I realized at that point in time, I have to create better systems. I have to have a framework to become more efficient in my programming. So here's my promise to you. If this sounds like you, if you have struggled with programming, if you are trying to find ways to fast track this and still write great programs, but not have it take, an entire day or multiple days to write one program, here's the promise. If you will use my R7 system, I guarantee you'll write better programs, superior programs in this case, in less time, period. Like, I've used this system with everything from our interns that are 21, 22 years old up to seasoned, savvy veterans that have been doing this for 20 plus years. If you will adopt this system, I guarantee you'll write better workouts in less time. So let's talk about what R7 is. And let me tell you about why I created R7 first. If you came into iFast in 2008 when we opened, myself, Bill Hartman, we are like nerds. Like, that's why we got along so well, right? Initially, like, we love music. We love talking about different types of music, but we are just nerds and we love to talk about anatomy and physiology and what we are doing from a training perspective. So if you came into the gym in 2008, you're getting trained by two nerds that write programs like nerds. And so if you would come in, the first thing on your workout would be titled soft tissue mobilization. Now, you're a trainer or coach, so maybe you understand what that means. But I can assure you, most of your clients and athletes walking in have no clue what soft tissue mobilization is. So we wanted to create a vocabulary that resonated with our clients and athletes, that helped them understand why we're doing certain things throughout their workout. And it just so happened that we came up with 7 R's. So here are the 7 R's. We have release, we have reset, we have readiness, we have reactive work, we have resistance, we have resiliency, and we have recovery. So as your clients, as your athletes go through this, they're going to understand, release. Oh yeah, that's when I use that lacrosse ball, or I use that foam roller and I roll out the front of my thigh and it hurts like heck for a second. I release that tissue, but then once I do that, my knee hurts less and I've got more mobility, right? So that's kind of the premise behind all this. Release is your soft tissue work. Resets are any sort of activities that you use to improve somebody's posture or alignment before they start training. Readiness is your warm-up. And again, the great part about this system, you can use whatever modalities, whatever exercises you like. All this is a framework or a system to help you plug and play. So we've got readiness, which is your warm-up. Reactive, which is any speed or power work you're going to include. Resistance training, obviously your strength and your weight work. R6 is your resiliency and your conditioning, your metabolic work. And then R7 is your recovery. So when we put this together, we're like, this kind of works. Like, this really sets up the stage well. But then what it also does, it helps you better understand kind of on a visual level, or your clients and athletes on a visual level, what a training session should look like. And the joke I always use is, unless your athlete just chugged like 3 Red Bulls, they've listened to Pantera their entire way in the gym, they're not ready to go in and start banging out heavy squats or deadlifts right out of the gate. There's a buildup. There's a process to it. So, we are going to get in the gym. We're going to do some release work, just get things moving a little bit better. We're going to do some resets, whether that's breathing exercises, some crawling, some very targeted exercises to improve maybe the position of our rib cage or our hips and our pelvis to get everything lined up. I think of it as like tuning up a car. If you're going to drive a car across the country and the tires are going like this, that's not a good thing. So you want to align the tires so everything is moving as efficiently and effectively as possible. So you got your resets, you got your readiness. So that's where we're starting to really move, right? Just get everything unlocked, get that system ready to go. And then when it's go time, whether it's our speed and power work or our heavy strength work, we do those when we're fresh, because that's when we know the nervous system is primed and ready to go. So we do our speed, our power, our explosiveness, our heavy lifting as we start to fatigue. That's where we do our assistance exercises. Before we leave, we get our metabolic work in, our conditioning work in, and then before we walk out the door, we kickstart that recovery process. And again, this could be a lot of things. With a lot of my athletes, I like to just have them go camp out and breathe. Even if they just take 10 good breaths before they walk out the door, I feel like that's a win. Now, as I start to go through this, I gave this talk for probably 10 or 12 years, and somebody at some point was like, hey, can I see an example? What does that look like? So I want to make sure I give you a couple examples here. So sorry about that. So here are a couple examples. We'll start with a Gen Pop example. So this is actually one of my online clients. This guy loved to power lift. He was not a power lifter. He just liked to back squat and bench press and deadlift, but he was a lawyer. And so he sat a lot. So we needed to focus on a couple things. We needed to, number one, unlock his mobility. Two, he needed some general, just like movement training and movement re-education. And he wanted to get some metabolic work in because, again, he sat a lot. He just wanted to feel like he was moving more. So you can see here up top, we have his program goals: build a movement base or improve his squat depth because his hips were really stiff. He needed some abs and hammies because his pelvis was dumped really far forward. So we wanted to improve his alignment and just get that system stacked a little bit better. And then we just wanted to get his body prepped for future training. He'd taken a little bit of time off, and so we wanted to get back into it. So you can see we've got what I describe as R1 through R3. Some people, if they get like a physical printed program, they'll call it their first page. And so there's your release, your resets, and your readiness. And then we have our day one workout. Now at this point in time, Noah here was not really focused on power development. He really just wanted to get in the gym, get his strength work in, and then get his conditioning in. That was his emphasis. And also, he was either going through law school at the time or he had just become a lawyer. So he was crazy busy. So I had to be conscious of his time. So that gives you an idea. That's kind of like how it looks start to finish for one day for a Gen Pop client. Now, we can also show you an athletic example as well. So this is one of my high school basketball players. You can see it's a very current program, but he moves really well, so he doesn't need to foam roll a whole bunch of stuff. He did have a foot and ankle issue that he was coming off of, so he had seen our physical therapist. That's why we've got all these crazy names of exercises here. It meant something to him. But we had these very specific exercises we needed to do to get his foot into the appropriate shape and to get his foot and ankle moving the way that we needed to. We had a standard warm-up that we took him through, and then we had some specific goals. And I think that's one thing I would always emphasize to you. It's kind of a tangent, but I think it's really relevant. A lot of times when people get stuck writing programs, it's because they're trying to chase too many goals. So we had very specific goals for him, and in this case, we wanted to get him a little bit more space, front to back. We wanted to get him turned back from his right to his left side. And then we really wanted to lock in like the foot and ankle stuff, because I felt like if we did that, he'd be ready to go. We had a short window of time. I think this was in early March when I started seeing him, and he started his AAU season in April. So not a lot of time. So we had one training block and we had to jump right in. So you can see as far as like the calf work, we did some jump rope up top. So we were getting some of that fast reactive stuff. We were getting other exercises that were focused on lateral acceleration. Again, basketball player. So being able to shuffle and move quickly side to side is really important. And then a lot of general training from there, because again, we had a 1 month window. So we had to get a little bit of strength with our kettlebell squats. We had to get a little bit of power with our low hurdle to box jump. We had some cleanup movement work. And then at the end, we wanted to get those seated single leg calf raises in, because there was definitely a deficiency between his affected and his unaffected side. So I wanted to try and ramp that up so he felt strong and confident when he got on the court. So a couple examples there. I hope that's helpful. Sometimes if you're a visual person like me, when you see something like that, it just makes more sense. So we talked a lot about the system. Now I want to try and sell you on this. I'm going to be direct. I think this can be really beneficial for you. And I've had people that work in Gen Pop gyms, S&C gyms, people that work in high level sport that have all adopted this system, but maybe one of these ideas will really resonate with you. So there's a couple reasons I think you should start using R7. Number one, improving your client and athlete buy-in. So for example, the guy pictured here, his name is Chad Marshall. When I was in the soccer space, when I was getting into the soccer space, I'll be honest, I knew nothing about soccer. It was really, really bad. And so one of my other favorite soccer players of all time, Danny O'Rourke, he kind of started our pro soccer phase at iFast. And Danny says, hey, I want to bring my guy Chad in. He's pretty good. Kind of downplays it a little bit. Well, I started doing some research on Chad. And if there is like a LeBron James or Michael Jordan of defense in the MLS, it was Chad Marshall. This guy was a two-time MLS Defender of the Year. He'd won like the Supporters Shield. They'd won the MLS Cup. This guy was a total boss. He played for the national team. But the knock that I kept hearing on Chad was, oh, well, he's not serious about his fitness. Like, he doesn't take care of his body. I mean, Chad was probably 10, 11 years into his professional career at this point in time. So Danny brings Chad in, and Chad is not standoffish, but he's, kind of keeping his distance right out of the gate. And rightfully so. A lot of professional athletes do that because they don't know what your intentions are. So we take Chad through his assessment. And then as we start going through this program, I mean, he's peppering me with questions, like everything. Well, why do I do this? Why do I do this? Why do I do this? And since there, number one, is a system and a framework, but number two, because there is a thought process behind his program, I could answer all of those. Why am I doing this stupid exercise for the outside of my right hip? Well, your right ankle does this, right? Because your right hip isn't doing what it needs to. So I need that little muscle on the outside of your hip to push you over. So your ankle does that, so your ankle doesn't hurt. Okay. So a couple weeks of this, right? He starts to move and feel better. Now I've got immediate buy-in, right? And this is a guy that forever was, listed as kind of a malcontent or didn't like to be in the weight room, didn't appreciate fitness. This guy was amazing for me. He trained literally 6 days a week for that entire off season. And I made him do some brutal stuff. But I tell you what, he gets traded to the Seattle Sounders. They go out, they have an amazing year. He was an MLS Defender of the Year once again. So improving athlete and client buy-in, I think, is huge. If people buy into what you're selling, they're going to work harder and they're going to get better results. Number two, streamlining your programming across coaches. If you work in a big space, if you're a business owner like I am, there was a point in time where we had a lot of staff. And more importantly, not just having a lot of staff, but we had a lot of different viewpoints. So my guy Ty here had worked for Lee Taft. So he's an amazing speed and agility coach. And, he's had an incredible career since then. He's gone on and he's worked in the NBA for the Atlanta Hawks, for the Washington Wizards. He's at Oklahoma now. But, he's got a very speed-focused background. So how do we take that and put it into a system? Brandon was like a PhD in neurophysiology or something like that. Jay was a master of music, but he was like a reformed CrossFitter. That's how we got him. Tony was into Muay Thai. Lance was like a jack of all trades. Bill's a physical therapist. So if I let all of these people kind of program the exact way they'd want to, when you come into our gym, everybody's looking around like, well, why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? Everybody's all over the place. Versus now, if we've all got a system and a framework that we use, hey, we can all appreciate what each person is trying to do. So I could pick up one of Ty's programs, look at it, and based on the exercise, the set rep scheme, and where it's at in that program, I know exactly what his intention is. So now I could pick up Ty's program and I could coach for him if I have to fill in. Same thing with Jay or Brandon or Tony. So it allowed us as a team to be more cohesive, to be more integrated. So if you're in a big facility and you want everybody to kind of work within the same structure while still allowing individual freedom to choose their own exercises, then R7 could absolutely do that for you. And then last but not least, superior programs in less time. Between adopting the R7 system, getting really locked in with progressions and regressions, and having some templates and frameworks for like different set rep schemes based on people's goals, man, I went from those 20 programs taking me, who knows, a half a day or a whole day to, man, I could knock out 20 programs in an afternoon pretty quickly. Especially if it's just general, more like fat loss updates where, hey, maybe you're just changing the exercise or you're keeping the exercise the same and you're tweaking the set rep schemes. Like once it's there, once it's in place, you're going to write consistently great programs in way less time. So here is what to expect. I appreciate you watching this video, man. I love this stuff. In case you can't tell, I get fired up. I'm just sitting here in my house by myself recording this, but I love this stuff and I love helping people like you. So here's what to expect. Day one is watching this video. You did that, way to go. Tomorrow, I'm going to send you a blank R7 template because I wrote articles for a long time. And the worst thing when you're writing an article is staring at a blank page. It's so daunting. It's like almost overwhelming. So I don't want you to start from scratch. I'm going to send you a blank R7 template, which I just updated. It looks super clean, super nice. Maybe change the colors to your company or your business's colors. Change the logo. Start using it, right? You're going to be able to plug and play this stuff so much faster. And then on day 3, I'm going to send you a program design checklist, because one of the biggest mistakes that I made over the years is I would like start to write a program and be like, oh crap, I forgot this thing. Or I'd get all the way done and be like, oh my gosh, I forgot this exercise that I wanted to put here. And now I'm rebuilding the whole thing. So I'm going to give you this program design checklist because I have given this to interns, to newbie coaches, to seasoned veterans, and it just helps make sure you don't make mistakes. Now, after you get through our little crash course, everybody wants to know what's next. Okay, and I created this little pathway or these steps to success. If you enjoy what I'm doing, if you kind of resonate with myself, my content, here's what I would suggest you do. Number 1, you're on the newsletter list, so just hang out for a while. I create free content every week, and I have done that for 20 plus years now. So, it used to be articles. I don't write as many of those as I'd like. So hopefully someday I'll have more time to write more articles, but I still write articles. Every week I've got a new podcast that comes out where I interview just true experts in our industry. Sometimes it's solo shows by me where I just go take a deep dive into a topic. I'm constantly creating videos, whether it's YouTube or social media videos. So just hang out and enjoy the free stuff for a while. If you like that and you want to take a deeper dive into something, well, the next level is all my starter products. And there's an actual page on my website. It's just called products, right? Because I'm real creative like that. But there you can find all kinds of just literal starter products, generally $100, even less. Something to just help you better understand, hey, how does Mike write programs for Gen Pop clients? How does Mike do in-season training with basketball players? So maybe start with one of those. But when you really want to level up, I will tell you these next 2 levels are for people that are serious. So my complete coach certification is essentially the systems and the process that I use to help get our interns and our coaches up to snuff at iFast. And so if you want to learn more about assessments, how I assess, how I write programs, how I coach and cue people, the progressions and regressions that I use to train those people, that is a great place to start. Because what I found over the years is there's a lot of really great coaches out there. They have the piece of paper that says, hey, I am certified by this body. That's great. But they get that certification, they realize, yeah, but I'm not really seeing success in the gym. What do I do when, this 3x10 back squat program isn't working? So that's where the certification can come in, because I just think it's a lot more practical and a lot more realistic for the people that you're going to see in the gym. And then at the top are my program design and private mentorship. So the program design mentorship is something I offer twice a year. It is a deep dive into programming. And we go into all these different areas, all the different R's, to really zoom in and how do we write the most custom, the most cohesive program for any client or athlete that you might see. So again, that's a really deep dive. Only a handful of people do that every year. And then I do private mentorships as well. But again, that's kind of on an as needed basis. It's very time and labor intensive on my part. Not that I don't enjoy doing it, but there's only so many hours in the day. So that is kind of the process. So if you're new, you just want to learn more about me, just hang out, enjoy the free stuff for a while. And then if you really jive and you want to learn more about what I do, you can kind of work your way up. So, man, probably took a little bit longer than I expected today. But again, I'm so thankful that you're here. I really feel like you're going to learn a lot. And it's my job to try and help motivate you, to keep you engaged, and to help you become the best trainer or coach possible. So thank you so much for your time. And be sure to check your email tomorrow for that R7 program template.